Hello, welcome to FPL The Onion episode 13. It's Ash and Nick again. Nick, how's things with you?
I am okay, thanks, Shlee. I'm still struggling with my internet connection, but hopefully at some point I'll be able to stop talking about that. I was just, in fact, it's already struggling now. I was just checking to see the Chelsea score.
Yeah, 1-0
It
up.
looks like it's still 1-0, yeah, but obviously that's now nowhere near not looking as bad for them at all. But it's making me feel much worse about my Reece James transfer because I was hoping they were going to go out. I haven't even had a chance to see the team news to see if he's playing, but yeah, other than that, I'm really good. I've really flown straight into the football talk, haven't I? So
Yeah, that's
there
good.
we go.
Yeah, we'll see how the connection goes. Sorry for anyone watching, there's going to be red ends flashing. If it is a problem, we'll put just the solo picture back on with Nick. Yes, we're recording on Tuesday night during the Real Madrid-Chelsea game. It's half-time. Going to be a big week for midweek stuff, isn't it? Tomorrow's massive. Leicester game on Thursday is massive.
Yeah.
In case we don't say later, it's one of those where you wouldn't want to make an early transfer, dare I say, but you've gone for it.
Thank you, Shlee. Thank you. I believe you made one last week.
This is true. Yeah, we'll get to all that stuff. But yeah, before we move on, mini league. Nick, I can't remember the code. Can you remember the code?
I can. It's 0NPH6D.
Cracking.
0NPH6D. I've obviously been joking up to now, but I feel like I'm on the verge of remembering this because I've read it enough times now.
So we mentioned Paddy Power last week. He was 10 behind. He's now 8 behind, or maybe it wasn't 10 last week, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, he's gunning. He's gunning for me. He wants that curly whirly, doesn't he?
And shout out to my friend at work, Tom Harris. He had an 86-point week last week, Song captain, and he had Mount, which was pretty nice. So he is now raced ahead of me. So yeah, I'm languishing in the lead. At the bottom.
Nice. Yeah, Suj and I think Suj had the same combo, didn't he? Son, captain, and Mount. So
okay, lovely.
Nice combo.
What
he got 98 this week, Suj did.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I didn't listen to Planet FPL at all. What have you listened to this week?
I listened to Planet FPL twice, I believe. It just shows I'm crying out for content. I've listened to a couple of Andy's videos. I didn't listen to his deadline stream because I just looked tonight and realized what an amazing week he had. I think he was in the 80s as well.
Yeah,
because I think he had Son captain, Kulusevski. Yeah.
Yeah, he was. I found he was sort of playing it. He's always quite modest anyway, but playing it down a little bit. I think he's 15k in the world, which is very decent.
Yeah, that week he's been waiting on that because that's really propelled him, hasn't he? So I think he'll probably be feeling pretty confident now about trying to push on to get the top 10k. But
yeah,
what else have I listened to? I was a bit disappointed that The Wire didn't come out today. I would have liked to have had a little listen of that. I'm wondering if maybe they'll do it tomorrow. I listened to a focal video, like a short kind of, I think, just players to target video.
Did you watch that David Seaman one in the end?
No, I haven't seen that. Is he interviewing him?
Yes, that was the one on the back of the couple of ideas we've got for some future episodes. Where
oh yeah, you were saying
focal was on that. It's about 25 minutes. It was good. Where it was very much a non-FPL community, but yeah, hosted by David Seaman, talking about just some basics, just trying to get some tips out of focal, and he did really well on that. It's tricky because they're very much in a mini league, the 5 people that were sort of in the chat, and it's all about trying to beat each other, but there was no mention of overall rank or anything, and I'm not sure what I hate to think what there's maybe was, but it was just mad hearing focal just dropping a few terms and just wondering what the reaction was going to be. But when he did say, to be fair, that he was world number 1 at one point this season, they were all pretty amazed. So,
but he's in their mini league, is he, or is it Dave Seaman and his mates in a mini league?
I'm not sure what the connection is or how they got onto him. he's an Arsenal fan, isn't he? But I think it must be more than that. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure if they knew him before or through the mini league, or that's been since then.
Okay, yeah, I'll give it a watch. But are they not like big FPL players then?
Yeah, they play FPL, but I don't think they're. I think they're casuals, dare I say.
Fair enough. But they were still impressed when they heard he was number 1 out of 9 million people.
Yeah. Well, there's a clarification. They were like, "What in the whole world?" When I think he said he was once overall ranked 1, rather than I don't know, number 1 in Kent or something.
which even that would be an achievement.
Yeah. I listened to Andy's what's it called, the knee jerk stream. I do enjoy that on the Sunday. That was good.
Yeah,
it's just good to get immediate kind of thoughts. Sometimes it can go off topic a bit. What were they going on this week? England team maybe, or maybe that was last week. And also above average FPL last night. I'm quite enjoying that. I watched that. They were streaming, and they're just very handy because they're both Spurs fans. So getting some intel on them, Kane and Son, was very interesting. And they actually came up with a theory of why Son has been so immense the last 3 games compared to Kane, and they said it was to do with the opposition formation, in that from game week 28 to 30 they were playing teams that played 4-2-3-1, and the key being the 2 midfielders, whereas the last 3 games they played teams that are either 4-3-3 or 3-4-3, and their midfield sort of shape is different. And then they looked at the next 3 fixtures, and they were basically, if they had to predict it based on that, they would say Son would do well, and then it would be back to Kane.
Well, because the next 2 are not,
against teams
they haven't got 2 holding midfield.
Yeah, they play a midfield 3. Yeah, Brighton and who's after that? Brentford.
Because I guess it suggests what they're saying, because I saw some of the Spurs Villa game, they're saying that teams that have 2 sitting midfielders or 2 holding midfielders don't allow the space for Kane to drop in and play passes through to Son.
Yeah, it's that, and it's also that Son plays wider when it's midfield 2, rather than almost playing like a counter-attacking left forward.
Right, because one of them maybe picks up his runs or something. Or
something like that. Yeah, they lost me a bit on the formation chat, but it was quite good because it was actually the first time someone said, well, this is why we think it's happening, rather than based on XG, which they're obviously both overperforming. And Son last week, it just threw it out the window, didn't he?
Yeah, but again, this is my thing on XG, isn't it? That if Son runs through, because XG doesn't take into account who the player is, does it?
No, true. Yeah, and for sure, looking back at the highlights, it's pretty mad that his total XG was, what was it, 0.6 or something? You look at that, was his second goal, where he ran through after Kane's header. You would think that would be more than 0.6 alone. He's 1-on-1, 20 yards out. He was never going to miss.
But then, do you think XG? I've never thought of this before. Do you think XG? Do you think it starts when the player receives the ball, the goal scorer receives the ball? Because if you think like Maradona against England in the '86 World Cup, is his goal on the halfway line, from the halfway line, is that an XG of like 0.02? but his XG from the moment he's in the box is like 0.6 because he's in on the keeper. I mean, at what point does the XG start?
I don't think it starts. I think it is just the touch when they shoot, surely.
Do you think it is?
Yeah, well, it wouldn't work any other way, would it?
Well, I don't know, because that, I mean, again, like if you freeze frame it when he goes past Peter Reid, is it like, it's like XG, as I said, like super low, right? But because it's Maradona, so he's got 3 players to beat and the keeper, and he still does it.
No, I think it's all to do with their form, if you can call it that, or how they outperform their form or their finishing when they attempt to finish, not when they're driven past loads of people.
But then, don't you think it's mad then that Son's XG apparently for that game against Villa, where he scored a hat-trick from 3 chances, was less than 1, even though you would have thought with those 3 chances combined, it would have added up to at least a goal, right?
But I think that's just that Son is capable and regularly does outperform his XG. That is the average of what most players in that position would do, but if you're going to put more pay into that position, he's not going to do it.
It's probably what we were saying as well about the weaker foot, isn't it? Because I think there were 2 of those goals on his left foot.
I'm not sure, but that sort of stuff comes into it.
Yeah, but he's an absolutely ridiculous finisher.
It happened again, didn't it? My fear came true. And you did
It
say
did.
you felt bad. Was that because did you feel partly responsible for this, or just don't want to see me cry?
I felt bad because you're telling me how much you have to compromise your team in order to get him in. I keep looking at it and thinking, well, logically, I don't think you should do it. And yet, if you had done it 3 weeks ago, you'd have had a lot more points, wouldn't you? So
It is mad. And I was going to listen back to the episode where I can't remember your rationale, but it was the -16 week, wasn't it? Where you got him just about with 0 to spare. Like, can you
yeah.
maybe don't we
Well,
won't go
no,
into it too much, but
I think I already had Son, didn't I,
oh,
before the
did you?
-16?
So it
Yeah, I
wasn't.
think he was the one player I had.
Okay, right. Because I was thinking back, if you did it then, I don't remember you being that bullish on the reasons why. And if you did have good reasons, fair play. That was an amazing time to do it. But if you had him before, fair enough.
Let me see. I'll have a very quick look and see if when I got him, but I think I had him before. Yeah, I've had Son for a long while actually.
Right.
I brought him in game week 27. So long while. Brought
KDB
him
to
in.
him, was it moving, or
What's that? Sorry.
did you move KDB to him?
Game week 27. No, I moved Salah to him in game week 27, and then got Salah straight back in game week 28. I think this was the whole Salah Son hokey cokey thing. Do you remember
Yeah, I think I
where I
did.
got rid of Salah for Son, and then I did Fernandes back to Salah? So effectively, it was like swapping Fernandes for Son, but keeping Fernandes for that Watford fixture where he didn't do anything.
Right.
I think that was the move. But yeah, I've had Son since game week 27, and do you remember there was that time where Kane was outscoring him?
Yeah,
But then I
27-30.
got Kane in game week 29 for the
That's the -16.
that was the
Okay.
-16. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Anyway,
yes,
XG and
indeed.
Son. We've already covered two of the things we need to avoid really to avoid it's going badly. So let's have a look at your team last week. So you rolled a transfer 61. Got to be pretty happy. But yeah, your summary there on the right.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was becoming probably a kind of, whether that guy's digging a grave there or not, but it was like the graveyard of my season on Saturday. I was actually on a stag do in Dublin, and we'd just done some hurling and some Gaelic football as part of this stag do. We were all feeling pretty ropey, and that's when I saw that my kind of Ronaldo in for Kane transfer and to enable me to get Cancelo and James. United were, when I checked the score, United were 1-0 down to Everton. And I was like, this isn't going very well at all. And the day just got worse from there. I remember being in a toilet checking my phone and seeing that Martinelli had scored and going absolutely nuts. And then seeing when I got outside and picked up another Guinness that it had been ruled out by VAR.
Oh yeah, that's so annoying.
Then I saw that James wasn't even in the team. And then so it was just like Saturday was just going really badly. Obviously, De Gea got 2 for United, and I think by the time the Spurs game started, I think I had about 6 points from 5 players or something. Like it was a disaster. I was like, well, that's that then. But I was kind of many Guinness in at that point, so I was like, I don't really mind too much. And we actually went to a sports bar to watch. It happened that the Spurs Villa game was on in there. I don't think we were necessarily there for that because a lot of the lads are kind of rugby players and stuff. But yeah, when Son started to score, I was just like, this is amazing.
That is incredible.
And he basically, I think I worked it out. It's like he got like 67% of my points or something. It might even be more than that. I think that I made that calculation in the pub. He'd got an unbelievable amount of my points. So yeah, there's not really any point even talking about the City Liverpool game for me because it was just all about what Son did. And if I'd had anyone else, like if I'd had Bruno, as was my plan at some point, was to have like Ronaldo and Bruno for these fixtures, I'd probably be dropped outside the top 10k. I think it would have been such a ridiculously bad week. To get 42 points from one player and only end up with 61 points is pretty mad.
Yeah, that's it. That's insane, isn't it? I mean, your Ronaldo switch to Kane's obviously not looking too good. That would have helped, but I mean that Salah and Cancelo combo. I don't know. I feel like on average people maybe had 1.5 of the 3 of Salah, Cancelo, and Trent. So you probably were up a bit on that. But yeah, the fact that everyone else and not just got not very much. It was ones and zeros mostly. It's not like you got twos and threes. So
No,
it's just
exactly.
completely saved you. I mean, you had a red arrow by what, about 1,000 places, I think, but yeah, it could have been so much worse.
Yeah, it was quite a decent red arrow, but as you said, I mean, when Trent got the assist at the start, you know, in the first half, I was like, oh no, this is going to go really badly. But I mean, you think even in that Spurs game, I mean, I think Kane was at like 120% or 130% ownership in the top 10K, and I didn't even have him. And yet every time Son scored, it was like either Kulusevski or Kane who was assisting in. I was like, oh, they're kind of dragging him back from this amazing score. But again, the fact that, you know, he still covered them again, and he was my captain. It's just mad. Like, as in, he's literally saved my bacon big time. So yeah, absolutely loving Son this season. He's amazing.
But you were saying a few weeks ago, we were joking on WhatsApp that I think I was saying that I just never seem to own him at the right time, and you were saying the same. And how do you feel now? You must feel you've removed that from your back.
Yeah, I'll never think badly of Son ever again after the last few game weeks. He's just such a lovely chap as well, and he looks like he enjoys his football. And just I was obviously in a pretty good place when he was scoring those goals anyway, and I was on a stag do in Dublin and half cut, and yeah, each goal was just brilliant. In fact, I was saying to one of the lads there, because he plays quite a lot of fantasy as well. I think we were chatting about it. I haven't seen him for years. He's a really nice lad, and I was just saying, if I had Bruno, I'd be in such a miserable place right now, even though I'm honest, you know, even though all the exact same situation, and yet because I had Son, I was absolutely buzzing. So it was great.
Were you close then? Because you rolled last week. Were you close to getting Bruno in some way?
No, not now. I mean, obviously, I was a couple of weeks ago. I was thinking about maybe bringing. I think I spoke about it on here about getting rid of both Kane and Son for Ronaldo and Bruno, because if I like the Leicester fixture and I like the Everton fixture, and then they've got the double, etc., etc. But Son's form, you know, from 3 game weeks ago, his form has been so unbelievably good since then that there was no way I was going to take him out. And there's a bit of a theme of that ahead of, you know, my plans before game week 33. I just wouldn't consider taking Son out at all now before he's in just such incredible form.
Yeah.
So I haven't done the maths to see what would have happened if I had just left Kane in and not got Cancelo and not got James. I mean, obviously James has been a massive disappointment, and I think again on reflection that was a really poor decision to bring him in at such a crucial time in Chelsea's season when they've got these Champions League games, etc., etc. But yeah, he's just so explosive. If we rewind to a couple of weeks ago, everyone was just fearing that he was just going to go absolutely mad, wasn't it, against Brentford, and then they just got absolutely hammered. So,
speaking of Chelsea, it's 2-0.
Is it?
So it's not away goals, right? You were saying, so that's extra time at the moment.
Yeah. My cousins are actually at that game.
Oh, lovely. They start with a back 4 as well, I saw, which is maybe that's throwing Madrid a little bit. Very interesting.
Yeah, but James got booked, didn't he, in the first half?
Yeah, I saw that. Although I saw on the ratings he was Chelsea's man of the match at half time.
Yeah, he's a quality player, isn't he? But the fact that Aspie's on the bench means that I don't think James plays the next game.
That is annoying for my bench boost. Probable bench boost.
Yes.
I hadn't thought about that, actually.
Annoying.
Okay, my team. So I got 5 points less than you. You got 3 players returned, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 on the bench. So in that respect, it should have been better. But yeah, you say that Son covered. I mean, the fact that you captained him, you just then blew Kane and Kulusevski out of the water. So obviously I had those 2 guys, and in hindsight, all 3-0 apparently. Oof, crazy. Yeah, I was pretty happy with the share transfer in. That did help because that was for Digne. I mean, that guy's a right pain in the bum. I was slightly regretting that actually, because that was an early move on the Wednesday, and I was thinking, is that a mistake? He's got a double in 37. He might be back by then, but did he get booked and got taken off injured, or maybe just the injury? But yeah, that was handy. The 5 points on Friday night.
Do you remember how I was messaging you after I played my wild card and I had gone for Laporte over Digne, and when Digne got that clean sheet and the assist against Everton? Do you remember in his first game for Villa? I was absolutely gutted, and now you look back, that's literally all he's done for Villa, is just that return.
Well, you and Az have got a crazy run this season of getting someone in and immediately getting a return. WegWORST springs to mind. Dina springs to mind. Well, certainly for Az, I didn't know you'd done that with Dina as well. And I think that is one thing.
No, I
if we
didn't. I
look
didn't
back-
get him in. I didn't.
okay.
I avoided him, didn't I? And I was annoyed because I just thought Everton were going to get something against because they had Duncan Ferguson, didn't they? He was managing those games, and I just thought that he'd get them fired up. And so
Right.
Digne got I think he got 12 points. He got the assist, man of the match, and I was just gutted that I hadn't got him in. But that is literally all he's had since then. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, similar to WegWORST, like you got his point and you captained him, and then the week after I captained him and he goes and gets 3 or something. So when we look back, I think you've definitely sort of nailed that initial return on so many transfers.
Yeah, I don't think a captain WegWORST when I first brought him in. I think I just had his points, but you think again, it's exactly the same as the Digne thing, where they come in, do well in the first game, everybody jumps on them, and actually they're just a massive trap.
Right.
But yeah,
2-0's been ruled out. It was Alonso, but Harrison started him. Great. I was well happy when that third one went in, and I was listening to 5 Live at the time, and they were talking about being an absolute rocket. So that was nice to hear that go in. But
scored
Silva,
3 games in a row now.
Yeah, started him in 2, although one of them was forced when it was 30, and it was the massive blank. So, but yeah, that was good that he's come through. But yeah, Thiago Silva on the bench. I just really felt I just could not get the rub of the green there. Like last week, I started them both, and they both got 0. This week, benched the wrong one, and one returns. So it was another red arrow, 154k, not too good.
But yeah, that's so tough on Thiago Silva, isn't it? But again, if you had started Thiago Silva ahead of James and James had played and gone bananas, you'd have been like, well, of course, it was completely obvious. So it's just, it's again, it's. Did Doherty start that Spurs game and then get injured? Yeah. He's a big issue, and he's got to go, I think.
Yeah, out for the season, isn't it now? I think our bus teams, I've got him as orange, but he's now either 25% or 0.
Yeah. Has it been confirmed that he's out for the season? Because I still haven't seen that.
I think so. I think it was something like he needs surgery and he'll likely be out for the season. So I think it's like close to the end of the season.
Okay. What a shame for him. He's been playing so well, hasn't he?
I know, yeah, especially with left, moving to the left and it seemingly not making a difference.
No.
Yeah. Okay, a few other bits before we get into I think most of this podcast we're going to be talking about our plan for next week. So I'll run just through a few quick things here. This I thought was quite handy to help us with the sort of permutations from last week, where a couple of the fixtures to be rearranged go. So on the left, it's the Villa Crystal Palace and Man U Chelsea games that are affected by tonight's result with Madrid and the Chelsea Crystal Palace FA Cup game. And on the right is where West Ham City goes and Wolves Man City, and that's affected by Liverpool Man City in the FA Cup and West Ham Lyon in the Europa League. So it's pretty complicated and there's loads of permutations, but it's quite nice to be able to follow those down depending on the results tonight and tomorrow and at the weekend.
It's interesting that if Real Madrid qualify, there's a 91% chance. Oh no, I see. It's saying that it's 91% chance that Real Madrid will qualify.
Yeah.
So that's being smashed at the moment, isn't it? But
yeah, that would have been that's about 50-50 now, I guess.
But then it's still 70% that United Chelsea could be. Oh, it's saying 34 or 37.
Yeah, exactly.
35 or 37.
Yeah, exactly. You get to the bottom, there's quite a few then options, but at least it's you're in one of the boxes.
It'd be good. I'd like to recreate that where I just put there's 100% at the bottom and it's just got every permutation in every box.
It would be nice if that Chelsea game goes into 34 or 35, though. The fact I've got 2 defenders, that would help. I could just do with something to mix it up a little bit. I think if everything's very predictable, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that's making me not that concerned about Reece James is the fact that Trent. I'm gonna jinx it now, but the fact that Trent hasn't done an enormous amount since I took him out. But again, it's just the price difference. I mean, I think I got Trent. I had Trent from the start, and did he start at 7.5?
Yeah, that was 8.5, and
But
yeah,
he's now 8.5. Like I'm not getting back to Trent from Reece James from 6.2 up to 8.5. So
that's the danger, isn't it? When you sell them, and you're suddenly faced with that new price, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have Cancelo, because I think Cancelo was the upgrade from Sice, wasn't he? So
yeah. Mikel hasn't done the updates on his thing, but it's just a reminder about Villa, Chelsea, maybe 34, 35, but no announcement on that yet. Got a few more tickers, which we won't go over all of them, but I have updated all my colours. So a couple of things on the defence one. Best defence I've got over the rest of the season is Chelsea, then Leicester, and then Liverpool.
it's really difficult to see the bold fixtures, isn't it?
Oh, right. So on defence, I haven't put them in because
okay.
My theory is, defenders probably won't go double digits too often, but on the attack, I have put that in.
Okay.
And over the next three, Newcastle are the only team that have got 3 fixtures in bold.
Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look good. That is slightly swaying me with my potential transfer plans that I need to back maybe a Newcastle attacker. But interestingly, Chelsea don't have any. So, Tom having Mount is quality, but would I be busting my team to bring him in? Probably not. And Arsenal as well. Andy's got Lacazette. They technically haven't got any bold fixtures either, even though Southampton looks pretty good.
Yeah, Newcastle definitely stands out, doesn't it? How are you feeling about WegWORST?
Not selling him, but I'm definitely not captaining him. And if I wasn't bench boosting, would I start him? It's probably quite a tricky one. I probably would.
Yeah, that's the thing on my bench boost. It's just trying to be honest about who those bench boost players are. And I think WegWORST and Broja are definitely 2 of them, because they're in such terrible form. But just looking at Burnley, I mean, obviously that Southampton at home fixture looks nice, doesn't it? So
yeah, and they were talking. He got taken off 55 minutes there, didn't he? Got people worried that maybe Vidra's going to come in. I mean, that would be super annoying.
I think it is. I think it's very possible, but it's one of those things that on a bench boost it feels much riskier, because in a normal week you'd think, okay, well, if he doesn't play, then maybe I'll get somebody off the bench, although in a double it's unlikely. But in a bench boost, you need them to play, don't you? So
yeah.
I think he could be dropped. He's been awful, hasn't he, since those first 2 games where he did well. I think against, was it United and Brighton?
United, he got an assist and looked really good. And then in that double, he got, a goal and an assist in each. And he came out with 12 points, I think.
I think he got a goal in one and then an assist in the next, maybe, or something. I can't remember, but he didn't go nuts. But
no, I think it was 12 points.
Yeah, but he hasn't done anything since then. And Broja the same. Broja just hasn't really done anything, has he? But the forward options this season, I know we keep banging on about it, but they've just been absolutely horrendous.
I know. I was just listening to a bit of the Scout podcast, and they were talking about Andy North's free hit team he put together, and he had Kane, Ronaldo, and Wood, and they were just saying, you can see why you've done it on a free hit, and I think with a free hit you can get like 4 or 5 premiums. It's pretty mad when you see how people are putting it together with like Dewsbury Hall in midfield and Simicast on the bench or something. But they were a bit also thinking, well, okay, 1 week anything can happen, but do you really want 24 mil of strikers up front, in Ronaldo and Kane?
No, but you think what I was talking about last week, where I was looking at the potential bench boost of 36 versus 33, and the fact that in 36, those cheap forwards don't have a double game week, so they might be crap, but the fact that they've got 2 fixtures means that you are just getting those 2 bites of the cherry. Like one could go in off WegWORST bum or whatever, and then suddenly you're like, okay, great, I've got some points. But it's the same with Broja as well. And the nice thing about getting the free hit chip, the bench boost chip out of the way this week is that then I probably will look to get in, the Leeds forwards just to kill those spots, because I'm just so sick of the forwards.
Yeah, agreed. Are you 99.9% then bench boosting? It'd have to be something ridiculous to change it. Yeah, same.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think that, there is the potential. There's a potential that Martinelli doesn't play for Arsenal or misses one of those games because apparently with Xhaka at left back, they just lost the midfield battle completely. So people were saying, well, if that continues with Xhaka at left back, Martinelli should play, but they think that Arteta's not going to continue with that because they did look so weak. So there is a chance that quite a few of my players who I'm relying on suddenly don't play. But again, I just think there, all roads point to playing the bench boost this week, just because it's because those players have got doubles. Yeah, they might miss one of those games on them. They might come off the bench, but at least they've got 2 games. So
Yeah.
it's now or never. It's now or never for me, I think, on the bench boost.
Agreed. Although I hadn't thought about the James factor. It was pretty obvious he's going to start tonight. He's first choice, but I was looking at my team thinking, right, I've only got to sort the blankers out, which is Harrison for me, and after that, it should be most of them have a good chance. Yeah, WegWORST fine. He's been poor form, but I didn't think about James. But I'm already on a -8 probably. I don't think I need a -12 hopefully to sort James out as well.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And I think that's why sometimes you just have to hope for the best, because
Yeah.
are you really going to take James out for even a doubling defender when he could play and he could go nuts? And
Yeah.
you take a -4 to do it, and then he plays. I mean, I don't think he will. I think Azpilicueta is going to play now, especially if it goes to extra time and James stays on the pitch. I think there's very little chance of him playing. But
yeah, that's true. We probably need him either to be taken off or maybe that to finish in Real Madrid's favour, and then that's more chance of James, isn't it?
haven't they got the FA Cup game against Palace before then? Anyway, is it on Saturday?
Well, that's why I've got this, just to see. Yes, you're right. Yeah, okay. So, all right, that's interesting. So maybe Aspi plays Palace, and then James is back for Arsenal.
Yeah, maybe that does make you feel slightly better about it,
Or
doesn't it?
3-0. Alonso again. See if it's
they're going to do it, aren't they?
ruled out this time. Amazing. Wow.
They are going to do it. He's an amazing boss, though, Tuchel, isn't he? I think he's fantastic, and they've handled it so well. Like all of the rigmarole on the sanctions and everything else, and the sale of the club. He's been brilliant.
6-0 against Southampton. Did not see that coming. Southampton have just got one of those results in them, haven't they? Every now and again, just get absolutely pummeled.
So you hadn't considered bringing Timo Werner in for that game?
Well, for the Southampton one or for this one, he's now on some people's radar, thinking that could be the answer to the striker spots.
Yeah, I mean he's come good, hasn't he? I mean,
yeah,
he's. I mean, it's only a few games, but I think there were people saying that in that Southampton game he hit both posts, the bar, and it's like XG was higher than it's ever been than anyone's this season in one game. So
yeah, I think, and about half of those were in one move, isn't it? It's just one of those players, isn't it? Never seemed to go quite right.
no.
But that's probably going to annoy a few people, because if he started tonight, that maybe makes him a bit of a doubt.
Maybe, but again, there's that Palace game, isn't there? So
yeah, true.
How much is Werner? Go WegWORST to Werner.
I think he's something like 8.2. I want to say.
Is he?
He's quite a lot more.
Yeah.
So this is tricky this week, captaincy, and this is one of the things that, if I don't mention it again, if I forget later on with my plans, is that I don't at the moment have a good captaincy option. On Above Average FPL last night, they were chatting quite a bit about, they don't hate Dubravka, they don't hate Share, they don't hate doublers like this, maybe Lacazette. If you haven't got a big hitter who's doubling, people are saying, okay, Son or Kane is probably a safe option. And on the right, the scout poll has got Son at the top, but Rate My Team is strongly thinking United assets and then Maddison. I really hope in a way that's to go out tomorrow, because I am considering Maddison. What do you think?
Yeah, I did actually listen to the FF Scout captaincy, and I just really struggle. I really struggle with these things, because a lot of the videos that the things I was listening to were saying that Fernandes and Ronaldo, yeah, they've got the double, yeah, they can still do things, but they're also saying that United are at bottom of the league for XG in the last 3 games, I think it was.
Yeah.
Obviously, then they were all talking about the Liverpool game, etc., etc. I mean, I'm glad to have Ronaldo, I guess before this, but I think, obviously if I could go back in time, I just would have kept Kane. I don't think I'd even be that worried about not having Ronaldo, especially after that Everton fan and the phone incident. Because I don't know why the FA I think it's the FA who charged him. I don't know why they wouldn't charge him for that. I think United have come out and said, or they've released it, in the press, that they're not going to punish him themselves. I don't know why he wouldn't face some sort of disciplinary action for that if there is evidence of it. But we're not hearing anything about that. But that is a big concern for me now, is that he somehow gets something from that and then can't play. And if I find out about that, I might have to go to Kane, back to Kane, but a week early. But it's just the idea of United are in such a state at the moment. I thought they would beat Everton. They didn't. It didn't sound like they actually tried. They could lose to Norwich. Like Norwich could score against them, and then I've lost the De Gea clean sheet, and Ronaldo does nothing. I'm not really thinking very strongly about captaining Ronaldo at the moment,
Right.
and yet maybe that's a really bad decision. But unless I hear that he's playing, I'm just not really thinking about it. But that then leaves a really big question, which is who am I going to captain? I'm not captaining Dubravka. It's really difficult because you look at the single game week players and they've got some good fixtures. Like, I think at the moment I am leaning towards Salah, but he's only got one game and it's against Man United, so it's not great. And yet that's how bad I think some of these double game week options are, and yet I'm bench boosting with several double game weekers, so it's not ideal.
I am very torn on a lot of things, and just listening to you chatting there for a couple of minutes has made me think that maybe United isn't. Fernandes is definitely a tempter, and I would captain him, and that would be partly the reason for it, to give a solid captain option. But you're right, that Norwich game could go badly, and they're not probably going to get much out of Liverpool. If Ronaldo plays, Fernandes isn't as good an asset. He's probably not on pens. I don't know. But they have had a week of rest, but then so have Norwich, I suppose. I don't know. And there wasn't a lot of form before he exploded in sort of 22 or 23, whenever it was. Norwich is obviously a good fixture on paper. The whole thing, you've got to play the doubles. Are you really going to go, okay, Salah and Son have got good single weeks, but you get 2 bites of the cherry with Fernandes? If you're on free hit, obviously you go 2 or 3 of them, but yeah, I think it's tricky.
Yeah, it is very, very difficult, because we could be sat here in 10 days time saying, oh, it was so obvious. Fernandes got a goal and assist against Norwich, and then he gets an assist against Liverpool, even though they get smashed by Liverpool, and you're like, okay, that was really obvious. But I thought United would roll Everton over really easily. They're just in an absolute state at the moment, aren't they? And I've heard today that it's very, very close, if not confirmed, or all but confirmed, that Ten Hag is going to be confirmed as the new manager. And generally, when that kind of thing starts to happen, the players do start to play. But I think the egos and even just the positions in their careers of a lot of the players at United, they don't want to be there, even if Ten Hag takes over. I think Pogba's going to be gone. Ronaldo, I can't see him staying. So it's not like you can suddenly see players playing for their United career, because I think a lot of them actually, that's one of the reasons why I think they're so bad, is they don't really want to stay.
Yeah.
So they're not bothered about their United careers, and yet they know that their stock isn't going to fall elsewhere. So you're just not, I don't feel like you're going to see any kind of bounce from them at all. I think the one saving grace for United would be if they finished, 9th or something, and so weren't even in the Europa Conference League next season, so they could actually just have a rebuilding season and just focus on the league.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're very depressing at the moment. So I mean, it's interesting there are no Arsenal players in this list, because they've got a double as well. Oh, there's Lacazette in there, but no Saka.
It's really off form, isn't he, Saka? Yeah. But yeah, Martinelli's not short of starts. Their defence is a bit of a mess with the Tierney problem. Yeah, it's true though.
Yeah, where are you? Are you seriously considering Fernandes still?
I think yeah. I've got about, I think I've summarised it in 6 plans on the slide later, which is a lot of text, but I can summarise it fairly easily. But I think one of those is definitely to get Fernandes and then switch into Son next week. the sensible plan
Right.
is just to get Son this week, but that does leave a pretty tricky captaincy. And if I'm going to take a -8, I would feel a little bit silly about not having a good captain. I mean, yeah, Share might be okay, even De Gea might be okay, Saka would if I go for him, but none of those sound that exciting.
No. Interesting that Share's not on that list, isn't it?
I think, as I was saying last week, though, they've got his expected minutes really low for some reason. I don't know if they are
Yeah.
expecting imminent rotation or something, but yeah.
He is quite injury prone, but
Yeah, it's true.
as we said, he's played a lot of games this season. He's played them in a row now, so he seems fine to me. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, no, so right. This is the third iteration of this, where when I said last week, right, it's sorted, I sorted my maths out, it's fine, even though I was talking about 100 points worth of stuff, which the number obviously should be the number of points you're going to gain from the 2 chips. So to talk about 100 was just ridiculous. So I think with revision 3 on the screen, I finally got it right, Nick. So I did send you this, and this is because we've only got bench boost and free hit. If we had wildcards, it would make this really complicated, but it boils down to probably using the free hit in 33, 36 or 37, and I just chucked in, as I had before, a sort of ideal free hit team on the left in the different colours, and that gets 88, 112, 95 points for each week. And then on the right is the different combinations when we could use those 2 chips, 6 combinations, and then in the blue, the points that I think you can gain from those 2 chips, and hopefully those numbers are now pretty sensible. So the ideal for me is 49.3 points of gain, and that would be if I free hit in 33 and bench boost in 37.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah. So I'm going to do the opposite of that, which is the third best of the 6.
That's what I love about this, Shlee. The amount of time that you've spent on this, and then it spits out these numbers at the end, and you go, "Yeah, I'm not doing any of that." It's like,
but I think had I done this the week before and not bought Share in, it might have swung me, and it did make sense because I had about 3 blankers at the time. So of course you've got 3 blankers. The worst thing you can do is bench boost, but I did want to ditch them because they don't have great fixtures long term. But it was reassuring in a way, because I actually thought at one point it was the worst decision to make to do the combo I'm doing, bench boost 33 and free hit 37, but it's the third best. I'm going to lose 8 points from the optimal one, which I think is okay.
yeah, again, I mean, I think, as we said, I don't think this model would take into account the fact that when you have a bench boost, you need to keep a strong bench. And again, not to reveal too much, but I made a transfer and brought in Dewsbury Hall for Ramsey, because obviously Ramsey's blanking in 33 and Dewsbury Hall doubles, and he seems to be playing a lot of minutes for Leicester. Again, he could get injured on Thursday night, or because of, he could just be rotated out. Fine. But the other reason why I liked him as an option, one was Fraser got injured, so he was no longer an option for Newcastle's double, which that was the other thing I was trying to do, is kind of going Ramsey up to Fraser. But the other thing about Dewsbury Hall is he's so unbelievably cheap at 4.4 that I'm not going to transfer him out for the rest of the season. So I'm also going to have him for the rest of Leicester's fixtures.
Yeah,
I might try and get Ramsey in. I think if I free hit in 37, I can have Ramsey for their fixtures in 37, although I might just go, Coutinho and Cash and Watkins or whatever instead. But it just meant that even though it's for a bench boost, it's still a very cheap player. But I just think because this model doesn't take into account the fact that, I can now get rid of WegWORST and Broja after this is done, and then maybe I can afford an extra premium somewhere by taking all that money out of the team. I mean, obviously it's a lot of transfers, but I think it does make sense to play your bench boost earlier. In fact, I'm jealous of people who've already got rid of it, frankly. But I'd much rather be sitting here with 2 free hits, obviously, than a bench boost and a free hit. That's an interesting point. What would you? And we haven't spoken too much about this, but if you did still have, let's say, a wild card, a free hit, and a bench boost, how would you plan it then? If we just go through a few connotations just very quickly. I'm not going to ask you to do all the maths instantly.
Well, the popular thing seems to be wildcard 34, doesn't it? But then if you have a bench boost as well, the problem with 36 bench boost is well, for my team at least, you've got that striker problem, like you say. Who do you have up front? So
Yeah.
I don't know. The wild card just adds so much complexity to it, and obviously you can bring in any set of players. We've almost got it easy that it's easy to predict what combo to use. So
Yeah. And I'm definitely leaning towards the free hit 37 now because of what we've discussed, which is that the teams that we like who have doubles in 37 are not necessarily teams that you'd want to have in the other kind of 5 game weeks that are, the 5 or 6 game weeks that are left. So
yeah,
I mean, obviously at that point there are only going to be 2 game weeks left, but you would almost need to kind of wild card in 36 to bring in all the players for 37, and then you've got the wrong combination of players. So it's very difficult, isn't it? Whereas I think the optimal thing would be you would wildcard in 34 to prepare for 36, and then you would free hit in 37.
yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. That's what I was just thinking that through. I was thinking that wildcard 34 is a bit too early to bench boost for 36, but that's okay, isn't it? 35, you're probably not going to wait. I think you can get on City then.
Yeah.
So I think people are talking about wildcard 34. Maybe some of them are on bench boost. I've not necessarily heard people talking about that, but that's probably the way to do it.
But they'll be bringing in, I think the best thing you could do if you're wildcarding to differentiate yourself would be to get players like De Bruyne in, wouldn't it? Because there won't be many people who can get to him.
Yeah.
Without something like a wildcard. But again, it'd be super annoying to wildcard, but still have to play a bench boost because you'd still have to spread all your funds around to make sure
Yeah,
that you
true.
had a decent bench boost. So,
well, unless yeah, I think obviously it depends on your team currently, but if your 34 or 35 bench boot wasn't too horrible, maybe you do that and then wildcard in 36, say, and then free hit 37. That would, but yeah, you'd have to have a pretty half decent bench. But like you say, if you could, you
obviously,
could
it
do it this
depends.
week.
It
Gives
depends
you pretty cool.
massively, and there's a lot of luck involved. But I think next season I might look to get rid of the bench boost a bit earlier.
Yeah.
Because you almost want to wildcard either side of it. You want to wildcard in order to set up a bench boost, and then wildcard out of it again to get rid of all the cash that you've put into it. But I think if you can somehow manage to plan it out, it'd be good to wildcard straight after a bench boost or soon after one.
Yeah. Well, that's what Chris has done in the Southampton League. I can't remember if he bench boosted, but he's wildcarded recently, and I was texting him a couple of nights ago saying his bench is ridiculous. He's got like Simicast, the Newcastle backup keeper at 3.9, a 3.8 defender, a Marty or something. It's just awful. Which I mean, it's pretty bold considering I still think there might be some COVID issues before the end of the season. But his starting 11 this week all played, and his bench all got 0. And he's probably got 3 mil more than me to play
That's
with
what
the
you
first
want.
11. Yeah, exactly. Just going back to your point on the fact that this model doesn't take into account, basically what you're saying is it doesn't take into account future transfers, and that is completely true. This is assuming your team is as it is for the rest of the season. So that is another good point why me choosing the third optimal idea here is maybe not too bad, because obviously I've got transfers between 33 and 37, so that is a limitation of it, but it's it's a good indication that we're hopefully on the right track.
Yeah, and again, we discussed it last week, but I just think my team is just ready to bench boost now. It's kind of it's been getting bench boost pregnant for a while, and now it's ready.
Okay, speaking of which, so this is my team. 1 free transfer, 3.4 in the bank. I am very unlikely to do any transfers before Friday, because I do need to know what's happening with Leicester and tomorrow night with Liverpool and City. 3-1 now. Rodrigo scored for Real Madrid.
Oh,
so
wow.
let's go into extra time.
Wow.
At the moment, on the face of it, yeah, as I say, captain's tricky. I've got it on Saka, but it could be if I did nothing, say, it could be Cher, it could be De Gea. If I'm bench boosting, obviously I need to deal with Harrison and Doherty. So, and then I've written out the 4 options. So the first option is I sell no big hitters, and I do something like I say I have to get Son in, and that would be Doherty, Harrison, and James to burn Son and a 4.3 defender, which is not that easy to find. I can't remember who it would be off the top of my head. But the problem with that, it leaves me no flexibility. I've got 0 in the bank. Yeah, great. I've got Son, Kane, Salah, which you have, but I've got no Cancelo. I've got no way of getting it. Say a Foden, or anything without removing a Salah or a Kane. So I don't really like it. But then the alternative is, well, that means you've got to get rid of Salah or Kane to get the money to do those other things.
It's so difficult looking at your team, because I feel like for whatever reason you've just ended up in this place where it's a lot of your plans are very convoluted and difficult.
It is really complicated, yeah. But then, so I've written them all out on the side there. But to cut to the chase, the one I am most keen on is losing Kane to get either Son or Bruno, and doing Harrison, Doherty, Kane to Son, Cancelo, and Wood, and probably, or rather than Son, doing Bruno and captain him, and then probably get Son in next week. But I keep pushing that Son transfer down the line, and obviously when he scored 3 on Saturday, I was like, this cannot go on. I have to get Son, whatever happens. I like that in a way because I'm removing the striker money, because I mean Kane obviously has been crazy for me, but is he going to keep doing that as a 12.5 striker? I do still have Kulu, so Son and Kulu I feel can match Kane.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. I think again, if you were going to do that, probably the move is to get Bruno so that you have a decent doubling captain, isn't it? And so then you are just going to be going into Brighton at home with Kulusevski and on his Todd trying to.
True.
Which is really tough. I mean, that's the other thing about this week that I am finding really, really interesting, is that, you know, even with the single game week players, you don't want to just like, I think people on free hit are going to have they're going to be some absolutely disastrous free hit stories, because there'll be people who've taken out all their decent, you know, all their kind of very,
single
very
game weekers,
premium single game weekers who are in really, really good form, and getting in doublers, you know, like Saka, Martinelli, Share, you know, Leicester players, etc. And then they're just going to get smashed by the likes of Son, who get 21 points. You know, it won't be Son this week. It might be Kevin De Bruyne, or it might be, you know, it might be Salah against United or whatever. But, you know, on a free hit, there'll be all those people looking at it going, I won't have Salah because that means I can get all these other players in. It's going to be amazing. And yet there will be somebody who is a single game week player who doesn't necessarily have the greatest fixture and just goes absolutely mental because they're such a fantastic player.
So many people I've heard speaking about, oh, this is what I do on a free hit, and you actually hear them mention a few singlers that they're worried about, and actually if you tot them all up, there's about 4 or 5 there sometimes, and sometimes they're very bullish and say, oh, but you'd only have 2 or 3 because you've really got to take the risk. But they have mentioned in the previous sort of 3-minute spiel that they're worried about Kane, they're worried about Son, they're worried about Salah.
Yeah, because just to play devil's advocate on this, and we could go around the houses all night, but we've just said that James is probably going to miss the Palace game, and then he probably will play the Arsenal game, I would think. I mean, maybe he won't, but I think he probably will. So you're thinking of getting Cancelo in for James. Cancelo is more expensive than James, and they're both single game weekers. You don't have to rush to do that necessarily, but you're also talking very seriously about taking Kane out for Wood. And yeah, Wood's got 2 fixtures and he's on penalties, but before he scored the other day, I can't remember the last time he scored, and that was a penalty, wasn't it? So
hang on, if I got rid of Kane, I wouldn't be taking out James.
Oh, okay.
If I got rid of Kane, I'd be removing Kane, Doherty, and Harrison.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so you still got James, fine. But you know, you are effectively, I guess you're bringing Bruno in. So I guess what you're looking is it's Kane versus Bruno, isn't it, for this week, the -4.
True. Well,
have you only got one
-8
feature
for it all?
Yeah,
I've only got one. But remember, I'm removing Harrison with a blank and replacing him with, say, Bruno. That's a 2 fixture increase.
Yeah.
Doherty's out. I'd be replacing him with him. I mean, I could get Burton and get 2 fixtures out of him, but I think that's too much this 1 week, eggs in the basket. So I think Cancelo's got to come in. So that's 1 fixture more.
Oh, so you'd be keeping James and getting Cancelo in. Yeah, and then Cancelo's fixtures look amazing going forward, don't they?
Do. And then Kane going to Wood is an extra fixture. So I'm gaining, I'm definitely something like you now. I'm gaining 4 fixtures there. But I am also booking him Son for next week. And you're right, I would only have them 1 Spurs this week in Kulu. But, you know, I'd have double Bruno fixture, double Wood fixture, and finally getting some City coverage.
And then have you looked at your strike force moving forward? Because you are going to have to play at least one of those forwards. So it'll be Wood, WegWORST or Broja each week.
I haven't in detail yet. It's pretty garbage, but I think I can do it for a bit. I mean, Newcastle have got Norwich next week. That's okay.
That's fine.
Southampton have got Palace the week after. That'd be okay because Newcastle's do turn after that.
Do you think you'd get rid of WegWORST at some point, maybe for like a Palace striker or something?
Don't know.
Because
I
again,
haven't really thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about WegWORST now. I mean, if he didn't have a double, I'd be getting rid of him this week because he's been that bad. I don't expect, even in a double, I don't expect anything from him. I just have other transfers I want to make, and I don't.
But one striker out of those lot, yeah, I'm looking at it quick. It's not great, but I think I can manage that. But that is interesting, actually. I don't think I haven't put this into FPL team looked at it in that much detail. That combo, and I would have to play either 5-4-1 or 4-5-1, which is a bit of a problem because Share's fixtures turn, but everyone else's I think are okay.
Yeah, I've seen that about Newcastle's fixtures as well after that Norwich game.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. I just think Kane, again, maybe it was the way I was feeling on Saturday night, and I didn't have Kane, and he was the one I feared, but I don't know how he got an assist for the first one where he actually his shot is off target, in my opinion. It smacks off the defender. But that third assist, the flicked header, I mean, Kane, that whole Spurs team will be they'll be so confident at the moment. They'll be stepping up feeling like they're going to smash anyone. And Brighton haven't been unbelievable. Although James on Planet FPL was saying that he really fears. He sounded just like a pessimistic Spurs fan after they've tonked everybody. But he was like, "Oh, we really hate playing Brighton. It's going to be really tough."
Well, the one thing that fears me about selling Kane is that their record, I think, I don't always read too much into it, but I think, Kane's played 7, scored 7, or got 7 returns against Brighton. Son has played 7 and got none.
Really?
Which is really interesting. Yeah.
Wow. That's a nice stat, isn't it? That's the thing, I guess, is that, I mean, but it's like anything else. I mean, Kane is he 12.6 now, Kane?
Yeah.
Maybe 12.5 for you taking him out, but it is a huge amount of money, isn't it, in the forward position? And so it's kind of...
It is. But then partly when I was trying to juggle the transfer of Salah out or Kane out, I was thinking, well, Salah's another mil. I can save another mil by ditching Salah, but my thought at the moment is that Salah is more important than Kane, despite, I mean, though, again, I'll probably be screaming at myself in a few weeks if I listen back to this. The form is obviously complete chalk and cheese. But Salah's fixtures over the next few, the captaincy is quite important. If he gets any sort of form back, you're going to want him. You've got Everton at home. The double into 36 is really good. I think Salah is more important to have than Kane, especially if I'm likely to have Son soon as well. So I am torn quite a few different ways. But I mean, what would you do quickly looking at that? Without me swaying you, or you were suggesting you were looking at it and not enjoying looking at it. So maybe
it's just so difficult, isn't it? Because each way you turn, your brain says, "Oh, you could try that," and you're like, "No, I don't want to do that." And then you're like, "Oh, I could try that." No, I don't want to do that. Like if you want Son, you're like, "Well, let's just go Salah to Son," but I wouldn't get rid of Salah, so I wouldn't do that.
And you can't do that because you have 4 Spurs. You'd have to do with Doherty, so it's at least a -4.
Oh God, yeah. No, of course, but you're bench boosting anyway, so you need Doherty is a completely separate thing, and actually to go from a player who's blanking to a player who has 2 games is always worth a -4 in my opinion. So hence my -16 for game week 29. But yeah, I mean you've got to remove Harrison, you've got to remove Doherty if you want to bench boost. So then it's just do you need Son this week?
And I was thinking yes up until today, and then I was thinking, well, Bruno is there, and I can do it for the money. Maybe it's worth taking that gamble and sticking the armband on him. I mean, the super unrisky move is Harrison to Dewsbury Hall and Doherty to say Cancelo. That's the -4. But I wouldn't have a great captain.
How much would you have in the bank then if you did Harrison to Dewsbury Hall and then Doherty to you've already got Share, but Doherty?
I think I definitely want Cancelo, but I'll probably have like 3 mil in the bank after that, so that's decent.
Yeah, it's just I'm in a similar position to you with like the Martinelli, Sakas, and even the Kulusevskis, where there's just that too big a leap between You know, even if you've got 3-4 million in the bank, you still can't do it to get up to Son. So
Yeah, exactly. Someone was saying, oh, just make it easy for yourself and just do Kulu to Son. But sounds easy. That's like a 4.5 mil swing.
yeah, that's a big jump. I mean, you could do that. I think you should test that out because I mean, Harrison down to Dewsbury Hall probably gives you what's Harrison 5.9,
Yeah. So that's option 1 here. Sell no big hitters and get Son from -8. Doherty, Harrison, and James to burn Son and a 4.3 defender. But that's how tight the money is. You'd have to go really cheap on both defenders.
I think I like that. But could you next week? The thing is, you're not going to want to get rid of Robertson as your only Liverpool defender. That this is the thing, that is the best option, but you haven't got Cancelo, and everyone thinks Cancelo's going to be amazing, but Cancelo's he hasn't got a double this week, so
yeah, true, yeah, and it's you've got to play what's in front of you. You don't know what's going to happen next week. I was seeing someone on Twitter that they got rid of Son 2 weeks ago to get City in for their, well, maybe not great run at the time, but thinking their title challenges, they're gonna ground out these results.
Yeah.
Similar. I just thought of you wild carding back in 25 or whatever. You did that to get the City assets in before they went good. In a way, it seems a sensible move, but imagine selling Son 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and Cancelo is one of these people that I think he is slightly overrated in FPL. He is brilliant. He is amazing. He does really well, but he doesn't get massive hauls. I know not really many defenders do, but he is expensive. I don't feel like he's ever going to go. Like he will once a season or twice a season, but he's just very steady, isn't he? And they almost bank the clean sheets because they're so good at keeping the ball. But I think your decision here is you either keep Kane or you get rid of Kane and you spread the funds around and you get you have Cancelo and James and etc. etc. But I think that's almost your choice is whether you keep Kane and go for what I think actually is the most sensible option, which is your first choice. Because you think you'd have Son, Kulusevski, and Kane. That's the best Spurs 3. You get rid of your 2 blankers, i.e. Doherty and Harrison. You get Burn, who's got 2 fixtures. Is Burn because of Shah again? Yeah, so Burn's fine again, and I think the Newcastle defense looks good, definitely for this double and the next one. I guess the weak thing might be your 4.3 defender, and then you've got to look at, because obviously next after the Norwich game, you're then going to have 2 Newcastle defenders and a 4.3 million defender. So it's like, well, who do you play when Newcastle's? How do you kind of get yourself out of that hole at that point?
Yeah.
But that's almost your choice, I think, is I'd either get rid of Kane and, as you say, get Cancelo and everything else, or you do that first option. I think that's what I'd be weighing up if I were you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Yeah, I think that, is interesting. It just leaves my team so inflexible. And I think the whole, so many people say, team structure is very important. That does completely destroy it. But, maybe I could survive with Laporte in a couple of weeks rather than a Cancelo. There are options.
Yeah, indeed. We didn't mention Laporte, but I think that's a good shout.
All Stones. I don't know how long Diaz is out for, but he seems to be playing quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right. So yourself on the left is your bus team, and on the right is you put together a free hit team.
So I just put through. I'm absolutely not considering the free hit this week at all, but I just thought it might be useful just to look at it. And our good friend Tom, international Tom from South Africa, sent me his free hit team, and I like the look of it. I had a little play to see how different mine would be. It was quite quick because again, when you're not really considering it, you don't go to town on it. But
yeah,
just on the free hit quickly. Obviously, Newcastle's fixtures look amazing, so I like the 3 there. I think on a free hit, you can have a very cheap bench because I think you can be pretty assured that when a player's got 2 fixtures, he's at least going to get 1 minute in one of those games. So you'd be unlucky if you were getting bench players in. Obviously, you could have a decent first bench option, but I don't think I've even got that here. But it just allows you in terms of funds. You look in this team. I've got Son, Salah, Fernandes, Kane, Cancelo. Obviously, the rest of the big hitters in defence aren't necessarily there because I've got Telles because Shaw is out and Telles takes corners, and they've got Norwich. I think what I've tried to do with my free hit team is yes, have good captain options and have double game weekers, but just not remove single game weekers who could still go absolutely nuts this week. So I think the only slight weakness with it is that it's a 3-5-2, so Dewsbury Hall has to play. I've brought Dewsbury Hall into my own team, but I don't necessarily. I think he's just going to do what Ramsey's done for me, which is I've probably missed his points last week. I don't expect him to go absolutely nuts, but he's just a fantastic enabler, isn't he? So at 4.4. So do you think your free hit would be any different? Would be much different from that this week?
The only problem with this is if Leicester go through. I mean, Dewsbury Hall's probably not as much of a risk. I mean, I thought he was a bit younger. He's 23, so he's fit enough to be able to play the games probably. But Maddison would be a bit of a risk. But you can swap that to someone else similar. How much is in the bank with this?
I could just go to one of the Arsenal boys, couldn't I guess, instead of...
Yeah, true. Yeah, Saka or something. Is this like tight on the money?
I think it's 0. I think it was 0.1 or 0.2 in the bank.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't given it too much thought, but yeah, it looks pretty solid. I mean, yeah, Tellus seems pretty popular in the community, doesn't he? It's Fernandes and or Ronaldo. You've gone probably the safer option with Kane. I think if Ronaldo doesn't get banned, I think I probably would go Ronaldo. I think as long as you've got one City and one Spurs, that's cover enough for the singles. Oh, and you've got Salah as well. So yeah,
that was the fear. When I was looking at it, that was the fear, was that if Ronaldo does get banned, and there are some people who think he maybe just gets benched for Norwich anyway, just because he's not in form and because he's beating up kids at Old Trafford and whatever else. But yeah, I think Kane's in such good form, which is why again I don't like your option of getting rid of Kane, but before Brighton at home.
Yeah, no, I know.
He could get a hat trick, couldn't he? He could get a hat trick in that game.
Yeah.
He gets a penalty after 6 minutes.
Well, that's the annoying thing. And I did pop on the board to the Spurs boys on above average FPL, because they were making a very good point that Son is only 3 behind Salah in the Golden Boot. Is Son going to pinch penalties off Kane? And I had a look at Son's penalty record, and I think he's scored 7 and missed 4 in his career, so he's not great. They said they don't think so, because Kane's also going for the Spurs all-time
There's no
goal scorer
way.
record.
There is no way that Kane gives him penalties.
Okay.
No way.
They were saying if they're secure in the Champions League spots, it's possible, but that's 37-38 territory.
No, I'd be worried about Kane if he starts giving people his penalty-taking duties. Kane's trying to set a legacy of being the top Premier League scorer of all time. He's not giving away goals.
Fair. Well, it's interesting that you were saying if Ronaldo, you do get news on the phone thing, your immediate thought there was you go back to Kane.
Yeah, because so I didn't want to talk about this necessarily because it might upset you a little bit, but my plan next week is to go Ronaldo to Kane, and so and then in my team I'd have Salah, Son, Kane, Cancelo, and James.
The combo that I can't get to. Yeah,
that's what I'm going to try and do, because it gets this end of this time of the season, and normally by this point of the season I've got a ridiculous team value because I've made loads of transfers, used loads of hits. I'm not doing very well in rank, but I've got a team that's worth like 3 million more than teams who have got good value. So that's a point where you're almost like, I can get an extra 2 premiums, but by that point I'm so far down in the overall rank that it doesn't really help me. Whereas this season I've still done okay with team value, but I've certainly lost a lot of team value doing certain things and making certain moves and holding off on transfers and different things like that. But that's my plan, is to get Kane back for Ronaldo. Next week we're United have Arsenal, and can't remember who Spurs have next week, but it's a better
Brentford
fixture.
Away.
That's it.
Brighton.
Yeah, Brentford.
Yeah.
So yeah, just on the bus team, I've already made one transfer, Ramsey to Dewsbury Hall. That's again removing a blanker for a hopeful doubler. I think looking across my whole team, I am pretty pleased with how the bench boost is turning out, but I do think there are players who will have their minutes managed, or they'll miss fixtures. Like James, might not play against Arsenal. Martinelli might not play both fixtures there. WegWORST could be dropped for the West Ham game. Broja, I think Broja will play. But there are players I think that could be taken out. But the nice thing about that still is I just think that with the likes of Martinelli and WegWORST, at least I've got 2 fixtures to that hopefully they'll play in. So my other planned moves are Foster to Dubravka to have a doubling keeper, and I like Dubravka's fixture against Norwich next week when United have got Arsenal, and United can't be trusted in their defense can't be trusted in any game at all. So that would be another free transfer because I've got 2 and I've only used 1, and then the other move would be Doherty to share for a -4, and that would give me again a blanker to a doubler. So that's what I'm looking at. But the big decision this week for me is captain, I think. So
Yeah.
what would you who would you captain if you had my team, Shlee?
If there's no news on Ronaldo.
Would you?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that probably is the sensible move, although part of me today, especially while I was listening to Planet FPL and Surge kind of raving about Salah, and quite rightly so. I mean, Salah could absolutely batter Man United.
Well, yeah, that's interesting because if you were going to rank them, I'd say Ronaldo's first. But I mean, this is biased because it's just been horrendous for me. But I would go Son ahead of Salah. I get that Salah's fixture is maybe easier, but he's just not got the form.
No.
Okay, he's on pens and Son isn't, but a bit like Kane, they haven't had any penalties recently. I don't know, Salah's not the greatest pen taker either. I don't know. Son is just electric.
It's funny, isn't it? You should say that because last week, if last game week, if Liverpool weren't playing City, if they were playing probably any other team in the league, maybe other than Chelsea, there's no way I would have captained Son against Villa. I'd have captained Salah against any other team in the league.
Yeah, okay.
So again, it's kind of the fortune of that, that those two things happened in the same week. Yeah. It's very, very lucky. But yeah, I think maybe I'm just so down on United at the moment and how everything's going.
Yeah, but it is tricky after that. If you're gonna go for a doubler, and it is fun doing that, but I mean your rank is so high, you almost need to not have fun. You just need to win it. It's tough to know who to go for, isn't it? Saka's form's nothing. I mean, Dubravka and Share, I don't know. That's really punty. I don't think that's maybe a good plan.
No,
I think you've got a bit like the other week. You've got to have a plan if Ronaldo is out, and if it's just to go to Kane, then fair enough. I mean, would that be a -8 then?
If I went Ronaldo to Kane, it would be a -8.
No, but if would you change your transfer plans? Would you just leave Foster, for example, rather than get Dubravka, or would you just go for the -8?
But again, then suddenly the choice is, Foster at home to Brentford versus Dubravka having 2 fixtures, and then going. I'm losing fixtures everywhere because then I'm going Ronaldo down to Kane as a single game weeker as well. So I'm actually losing 2 fixtures then in that move, aren't I?
Yeah.
Which I don't love. So I mean, maybe it's just because I plan and then I get something I think, oh yeah, this works, but it's going to be with my planned transfers for a -4. It's 10 double game weekers and 5 good single game week. If you were going to pick the best single game weekers that you could have, I mean, it'll be Cancelo, James, Salah, Son, and Robertson. I wouldn't want to get rid of any of those really. I don't think for a double game weeker this week.
Yeah.
So as far as bench boosts go, I really like it because it's 10 doublers plus those 5 big hitters with reasonable fixtures.
Yeah. 3-2 now.
Is it
ahead,
in extra time? Must be
yeah,
extra time.
It's half time now in extra time.
Oh, my cousins will be absolutely buzzing because one of them is a big Real Madrid fan.
Yeah, 3-2 at the Bernabeu. Pretty nice.
In extra time, what a brilliant game to see. Poor Chelsea. Well, that's bad. I mean, I'm guessing James must still be on the pitch.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen, but that there's so much that's at stake with these games this week because that then makes me less willing to sell James because if they're out of Europe, they've just got the league and the cup to play for.
Well, and in a kind of strange twist of fate, what it almost does is it almost guarantees that he can't play the Crystal Palace FA Cup game, which means that
for the league.
Which means he's not that they'll save him for the league, but I mean that if he's played 120 minutes in such a high tempo game, high stakes game, it would, especially when he's only recently back from injury, it wouldn't be a good idea to play him against Palace at the weekend, which means he's then much more likely to play the Arsenal game, isn't he? So
let's just see. No, he is still on the pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, he's still on. So I don't think. I think that's actually really, really helpful for James owners because I think he is much more likely than to play the league game.
It means I've got to sell Kane though.
The only thing is, I do know what you mean. It's been quite tough for me having 0-0 in the bank, and it does leave you so inflexible. Whereas actually, if you go Kane down, obviously, then it just gives you much more flexibility, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's definite risk in it. But there's a couple of people that are doing a lot of optimization stuff, and that was an interesting one posted today where they were putting their optimized team for the rest of the season. Their strikers were all dirt cheap, and I know that it was a no transfer team, so you couldn't move them around. But they are predicting. I don't know. Part of me thinks I've got the Kane points. Son has been outscoring him. The sensible thing is to save 2 mil. It's not just they're not equal with that. And obviously, if King does get a pen, it would be frustrating, but I can save quite a lot of money there. And get Wood, who's got the 2 fixtures. So I don't know. Yeah, let's see how Europe goes. I'm hoping there's just some clear path there, and the Europe results help me paint a picture.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if Spurs fixtures aren't as great and they're not going to be as good as Liverpool's or City's, then maybe just having 2 of them, because you'd still have Kulusevski as well, wouldn't you? So you'd have Son and Kulu.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the sensible play, keeping the flexibility, and you just got to make sure that you've got a decent forward to play each week. But maybe, I do wish I'd played the whole season with 1 forward. I think I'd be even higher than I am. So
yeah. There we
cool.
are.
Good stuff.
16. Quite a long one,
sorry,
but
ran a bit long
to discuss. No, that's fine. I think I've been covering up the yawns fairly well, but I'm pretty pooped. Time for bed soon.
I caught you a couple of times, and I thought, yeah, mid sentence, somebody might be finding this interesting somewhere. So
sorry.
Next week you should just have a picture of you. Just take a screenshot, and then you just have a little snooze on your desk while I'm monologuing.
Yeah, just turn myself off. What actually happens? That'd be fine. Right, do you have anything to add, Nick?
No, just let's hope Leicester go out of Europe. Let's hope Leicester go out of Europe, and let's hope that James misses the Palace game. And yeah, these double game weeks, they just drag on so much. They're such long game weeks, aren't they? But
I'm quite looking forward to this one. I've got a good feeling for some reason.
It's nice to be on a bench boost. That's always exciting.
Yeah, that is good. Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking, it's nice to almost hide your hits behind it, which I know is not the way to play it at all. But we've said we're both a bit sick of the bench boost, so getting rid of it and actually, taking a -4, which hopefully will turn into +10, that kind of feels right.
I don't have an amazingly great feeling about it because there aren't really. It's not that obvious who my bench players definitely would be this week, because it's good single game week players against not very good double game week players. But what will happen inevitably after the game week is finished is I'll just look at all the players who, my 4 worst players who got the least points and be like, oh yeah, that was my bench, and it was rained.
I mean, don't stress too much about the bench order. Yeah, I was only joking last week about the bench wankery. It's fine.
Indeed. All right. Thanks so much, Lee. Good to chat again.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Like, share and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and see you next time. Bye.
All the best. Bye.